Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for School for Startups Radio, where we talk all things small business and entrepreneurship. Now here's your host, the guy that believes that entrepreneurship is not about creativity, risk, or passion, Jim Beach.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of School for Startups Radio here on Business Radio X. I hope you're having a wonderful week out there, starting new businesses, being profitable, and making some money. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jim, as usual.
Excellent, excellent. Got any news, anything exciting to talk about?
Not really on my plate, no.
Well, you know, today's show is so packed, we don't really have time anyway. Let's go for it.
Exactly.
Let's
go to our first guest.
I think we need to. Let's start off today with our Smb Spotlight. So let's roll the music. Welcome to the Smb Spotlight on School for Startups Radio. Today we are featuring American Express Open, and we have the Director of Small Business and Startup Development for American Express Open, Mr. Ben Stone. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jim. Thanks for inviting me to join the conversation today.
Well, we're excited to have you, and we're excited to learn more about American Express Open. Of course, everyone knows what American Express is. What is Open, and how is it different from just the credit card?
Absolutely. So American Express Open is the division of American Express dedicated to small business and entrepreneurship. And so Open is not an acronym, but rather inspired by the open and close sign you would see in the window of any small business across the country. And at Open, we know that small businesses and entrepreneurs fuel the economy. And so by helping small business owners succeed and entrepreneurs succeed, we know we're helping everyone succeed. So therefore, our mission at Open is to help small businesses do more business. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, well, you know, we tackle that mission in a few different ways, three core ways. The first is just through our tools and products. So that's probably more where people think of the traditional credit card. So for instance, we have the Plum card that really helps small business owners manage their cash flow, which can really save a lot of time and headache, and also free up money for a lot of other important things. We also really put a huge emphasis on community. You know, as a former small business owner and entrepreneur myself, I know that starting businesses and running small businesses can be a lonely pursuit sometimes, and we at Open really want to make sure that everyone knows that you're not alone, and we're here to help. So we have a thing called Open Forum, where you can find openforum.com, which is just a great place for small business owners to find resources and connect with other people who are going through a lot of the same challenges and finding the same opportunities as them. And then finally, where I spend a lot of my time is in the advocacy programs, which is what we call them. And there we really focus on identifying real barriers for small businesses and entrepreneurs, and then doing what we can using our resource and brand to remove those barriers. And so on that, we really focus on a couple different things. One is through our Women's Business Initiative, and that's really focuses on delivering American Express Open's mission to help small businesses do more business to women entrepreneurs across the United States. And then second, we have our government contracting programs, and this is really one of my favorite things that we do. It really gets me up in the morning because I just think it's such sometimes an unknown opportunity. And you know, over the last decade, the federal government has had a mandate that 23% of all federal contracts need to go to small businesses. And while it's come close, the government hasn't yet met that quota. And so we really come in and try to provide opportunities for small businesses owners and entrepreneurs to gain awareness, education, and connections in that space.
You know, if I were to think about it, Ben, nothing in entrepreneurship really scares me. Venture capital doesn't scare me. Being in debt, I was in debt $10 million once. That doesn't scare me. Government contracts scare me. And so, Ben, saying that there's something that you could do that really is uplifting. Is there work out there right now for my small business in the government space? Do I have to be Raytheon to get a government contract?
No, you don't, and you know, it can be very scary, and that's where I think American Express Open provides a lot of value, because we open up we pull back the curtain, so to speak, and show small businesses that there's a ton of opportunities there, and then how to navigate what can be a very complicated, scary process. And so, for instance, the opportunities are huge. You know, the government buys a lot of products and services to run the country well, and it's not just missiles. It's office furniture and janitorial work and computer repair services and a lot of things that a small business might otherwise not think that they could get into the government. And so it's really important, the awareness part. And then the education is huge because there are just so many opportunities for small businesses, for women-owned businesses, for minority-owned businesses. There are real targeted set-asides that the government is just really striving to fulfill. And so what we do is we spend a lot of time on mentoring programs, on live events, online resources. I encourage everyone out there to go to openforum.com/government contracts. That's a great place to just get your feet wet a little bit, figure out what the deal is. How could I possibly fit in here? And another great place to go is our LinkedIn page, and you can find that just by going to LinkedIn, going to American Express Open Victory in Procurement. And we've got webinars, live one-on-ones with our open advisors in government contracting who can really answer a lot of questions because it's a tough road. But here's one of my favorite statistics, Jim, which is that 47% of businesses active in government contracting reach the $1 million mark, and that's compared to just 5% of small businesses overall. So if you can really dig in and persevere and find the right avenues to success in government contracting, you're really going to see tectonic shifts in your business.
That is very compelling, a 42% difference in that. That's quite amazing. And you said earlier, Ben, that the government is required to spend 23% with small businesses. Do you have any idea what the actual number is now? Are they even at half of that, or?
I don't know the exact number, but I know that they're really working to get closer to it. And so there's just a lot of opportunity out there because the government does need to buy this stuff, and they're looking for solid American companies to fulfill these contractual obligations. And, going back to your point before about this maybe being a little bit scary, there are real easy ways that small businesses can get into this space, and safe ways too. And the first is just start small. And the important factor is it doesn't matter how small the contract is. Once you get a small contract, it can be under $25,000. It can be purchases for $3,000 on a credit card. Past performance is a really big indicator to getting a contract to put on your capability statement when you're applying for these bids. So that's a real big thing. The other is just to understand from the very beginning that you have to be persistent. And we know that small business owners and entrepreneurs, that's persistence and perseverance is like part of their bloodstream. But in government contracting, it really pays off because it can sometimes take up to 2 years to get that first contract. But again, going back to that stat, once you get that contract, 47% of these business owners are exceeding the $1 million mark. So it's worth the wait. And then finally, again, this goes back to the universal principles of running small businesses, but network. You never know who you're going to meet and how you can team up together to make government contracting work. So our American Express Open's Victory in Procurement program really doubles down on that sentiment. So we run a number of programs in New York and around the country based on teaming. So where we provide workshops, networks, webinars for minority and women-owned small businesses to get together and bid on contracts that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do by themselves. And that's really important. And it goes back to what I said earlier, which is that you're not alone, and Open's there to help you know that and connect with other people.
Now, Ben, are only these services available to cardholder members or people who accept American Express? Can I just go on the website as a consumer and hope that one day my business will be big enough to accept American Express?
No, the programs that I oversee, the advocacy programs, which includes government contracting, women, and a number of other things, those are for small businesses across the country and entrepreneurs across the country because American Express Open truly believes that as small businesses grow and entrepreneurs get their companies off the ground and build them in sustainable, scalable ways, that really helps American Express as we get more people who are great card members and great card member prospects. But it really helps drive the U.S. economy, and as the U.S. economy grows, so does American Express Open. So it's a really win-win for everyone.
Talk about what you can do for women business owners, and in particular, $1 million plus.
Mm-hmm. Well, we American Express Open just commissioned and launched an exclusive report, which I love, called Growing Under the Radar. And it was really interesting because it's looking at $1 million plus women-owned firms And we found that over the past decade, the growth in the number of women-owned firms with 10 million or more in revenues has increased by over 56%. Now, that's a rate nearly 47% faster than that of growth of all $10 million plus firms and nearly twice the rate of growth of all women-owned firms. And moreover, I'll say that women-owned firms in the $10 million plus group are forging ahead at a much more rapid rate than their gender counterparts, us dudes here, nearly lapping them at more than 98% growth. It's really tremendous. And so we're really looking at why that is. We're really trying to figure out what is it about these women-owned firms that allow them to have this growth once they get past the $1 million mark, and how can we help all small businesses and all women-owned businesses get to that point?
I bet, Ben, it's the fact that women aren't afraid to ask open forum for advice, whereas I won't ask for directions, much less advice for somebody.
Yes, me neither. My wife will attest.
Exactly. Well, Ben, it sounds like American Express is doing a lot for us small business owners, and that if we're not on the site we need to be, because you will give us the motivation and the encouragement and then the skills to go branch off into another really profitable area for our businesses.
Yep, there's so many opportunities out there, Jim, and for the women out there and the women-owned small businesses, another great resource is openforum.com/women, and then also the Twitter handle @openforum is there's just a wealth of resources, and I go there every day myself just to see what I can learn.
Fantastic. All right, Ben Stone, the Director of Small Business at American Express Open, we appreciate your time and help very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. This is
the
Small Business Minute here on Business Radio X. Well, I don't know if you remember, Kevin, but we had my friend Eli Rodriguez on, who has a $20 million contract with the Navy about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
If you're interested in government contracting, you should go check out that show with Eli, because it was really insightful. And he is 35 years old and has got a $20 million government contract.
I can't imagine.
Well, he's going to ride that out for the rest of his career. You know, $22 million next year, $26 million in next year, you know, and on and on and on. That's his entire life right there.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right. For those of us not smart enough to do that, let's go on with the rest of the show. All right. We have on the phone with us someone I'm absolutely excited to interview and to talk to, someone that I have read extensively, Mr. Grant Cardone. Grant, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How you doing?
Great. Grant, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a real honor to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me and thinking enough of me and my work and what I've accomplished, a little bit of what I've accomplished.
Well, you've done some amazing things. Can we start sort of at the beginning and jump back to your first mega hit book, the first book of yours that I read? Tell us about Sell to Survive, would you, and how that created your whole empire and your whole philosophy.
Well, you know, when Lehman collapsed, I wrote that book the weekend after Lehman collapsed, and I had spent the last 30 years as an entrepreneur since I was 25 years old. Learning how to become a salesperson and be proficient as a salesperson in an industry regardless of the economy. And then I started multiple businesses, a software company and a consulting company, and also a real estate company. And so it spent the last 20 or 25 years up to Lehman collapse building those companies. They were great companies. They were working. Even the real estate, even when the real estate thing collapsed, the real estate I was buying, which was apartment buildings, were still doing extremely well. And then the bottom fell out, and that weekend I wrote that book, and that book was basically telling the world, look, everything has changed. The economy will be different forever, not for a short period of time, but forever. And regardless of your position or your title or what you think you do, you are now a salesperson. They will be the most protected group of people. Whether you work for an organization or you work for yourself, you have to go out and sell your products and your services. I was saying in that book that there'll be high unemployment. The only way to get a job is to sell yourself. The only way to get a raise is to sell yourself. And that book was basically saying, hey, the whole world this weekend became a salesperson, and you got to learn this skill now.
How do you think the economy changed with the collapse of Lehman and all of the consolidation that happened? And now that we have these banks that are literally too big to not only fail, but too big to prosecute, that they seem to have a license to do whatever they want. So what does the economy look like now for us small people?
Well, for little guys like us that are scrapping and, out there punching and shoving and trying to grab our piece every day, look, this economy, when you have this much uncertainty, I'm not going to go into the bank thing with you, but when you have this much uncertainty, we've had uncertainty now for 4 or 5 years. This uncertainty will not go away, because the moment things get better, everybody, when you wake up in the morning, you have to confront that there's $17 trillion of debt that this country never had. That has exploded, and everybody with just a dash of intelligence, that has to be confronted. So that makes consumers and buyers of your products and services, or even if you're trying to get a job or a better job, it makes people uncertain. It makes them cautious. So that's what I mean. The economy is different because we've never had this level of uncertainty since maybe the Great Depression. And that means you have to be, you see a lot of companies going out of business right now because they went to the lowest price, and that didn't allow that company to work, and then they failed. Or you see people in the middle class right now falling off the edges into poverty. Why? Because they don't make enough money, they don't save enough money, there is no money for them to invest, and so they fall off the edges when you see market conditions like this.
You mentioned the lowest price strategy. I love to tell the I guess it's a joke about the Walmart award. I don't know what the award is, but for the supplier who lowers the price the most, they give them a big award at the end of the year. And if 2 years in a row they lower the price, they give them even a bigger award. And if 3 years in a row they lower the price, they just go bankrupt. And so,
yeah, right.
What are your what are your thoughts, Grant, on pricing strategy and selling? And so you commented on lowest price. What are your thoughts on pricing models?
Well, I can tell that you read the book because there's 3 chapters in there about leave the lowest price. Don't be that guy, because it's a tightrope to walk. And people, you use the right example because people think, well, I'm going to be Walmart's. Walmart's isn't selling at the lowest price. They're buying from vendors at the lowest price and then not committed to that inventory. People don't understand this. When I sell my books to Walmart's has an out. If those books don't sell, I got to come take them back.
That's right.
So Walmart's basically has put themselves in a position that the dentist, the chiropractor, if you own a beauty salon or you own a services business the way I do, or you own real estate and you're renting apartments, you can't duplicate that model. So to think that you're going to be the lowest cost provider, I mean, ask yourself, are you already operating with margins that are so narrow that any inflation at all at the grocery store, actually you feel the pain of it? If you do, then the only thing to do is to go the other direction. And the other direction is don't be the lowest cost provider. In fact, I don't want to be the lowest cost. I don't think I wouldn't want to brag about that. I want to provide the best value, not the lowest price. And those are completely different topics.
Exactly. Right. So go ahead and say, what's your definition of value, and address this for our audience, the people who don't know.
Well, value has nothing to do with price. I mean, they don't teach you this in college. I have a good college degree. It's an accounting degree. There is no, there's no curriculum on price versus value. And so why does the guy go buy, why does he buy a flawless diamond? Because he wants value. And then there's this other person. I mean, there's markets for both that buys the cheap, ugly little diamond just to get engaged. And maybe that's because that's where he can afford or what he can afford. But in the middle between those two, most people, most of America, particularly when things get scary, people are not actually looking for the lowest price. They're looking for the most value. For instance, 5 years ago, people had so much free credit. Money was so cheap, and anybody could get approved that it was not uncommon for somebody to buy a car, furnish their house, and buy a condo in Miami all in the same weekend. Today, that's not going to happen. The consumer of today is like, okay, I either want to buy a car or I'm going to furnish my house or we're going to go buy a condo in Miami. But we can't do all three because we don't have the down payment and we can't get approved for the loan. So their decision will no longer be about cars. It's going to be car versus furniture versus maybe a condo. You see, so there's going to be a tremendous more shopping and more competition. The car dealer thinks that the customer, when he comes out to shop for the car, he's looking for the lowest price. But the truth is, that guy, him and his wife are deciding, is it a car or is it a condo? Or is it just furnish the house? That's what I mean when the uncertainty pervades a space. And people only have one choice, only one purchase. People are not going to quit buying. They're going to buy, but their money's going to move toward value, and that is what they perceive as value.
You know, I absolutely love what you just said, and reminded me of something that I was talking with a business owner, and he was describing that he had no competition. And I was like, really? Because going to Disney is competition. You know, I could decide not to purchase your product and take my family on an extra vacation instead. And so I think that's such valuable advice. In today's world, we have to realize that everything is competition for our business.
Everything is. Like when Lehman collapsed, the first thing I did, I wrote that book that weekend, and then I literally took a look at two things. My competition, made a list of all my competitors, and then made a list of all my products. And I looked for where my competition would not go. I literally wrote down, what will they not do? Where won't they go? What products or services won't they offer? And then I started looking at those spots where those gaps, if you will, the white lines on the interstate. If you're a motorcycle, if I could ride the right white line, I can actually get through the traffic. And we rebuilt our products and services, and then raised our prices during a time where all my competitors were lowering their price, because I knew I would get fewer customers. Clearly everybody's volumes dropped when people get that scared. So what I knew I needed was more money, not less money, from fewer people. Right. All right. And most of the country just did the wrong math. They went the other way, and you see a lot of companies going out of business. And big companies. Look at some of the low-cost providers. I think Circuit City's one. Best Buy, sure. Look at J.C. Penney and Sears that are just getting their brains, handed to them every day. That's right. Yep. So then can you encapsulate for us how to sell in a down market then? It can't be simply increase price. We need to be a little bit more precise than that. No. Clearly, look, the first thing that should happen is a company needs to make a decision that you're not going to be a victim of this economy. Because we got more bad news to come. So what happens when more bad news comes, and it's bigger than today's Cyprus, and tomorrow it's, the United States has got a problem, or California's busted. So the first thing to decide is, look, I am not going to be a victim of the economy. I am going to create my own economy, and we're going to win as a company no matter what happens. And so if you could literally grab that mindset, we are going to win, period. The second thing to do then is to make everybody in your company assist in or directly bring in revenue for the company. The main priority of a business is to bring in revenue. And the top half of your income statement is about revenue. It's not about expenses. But when I go into companies, I see them spending probably 75% of their time on the bottom half of the income statement, and only a small percentage of the time, typically in meetings, strategizing, but not enough time in how do we bring more money in here. So I want to take every position in the company, from technology to shipping to the receptionist, and I want to make those people responsible for either directly bringing in revenue or assisting in the generation of customers and clients that could help the company drive revenue. So it's clear that it's not just about changing your price. It's about changing your mindset as the company, particularly in executives, saying, hey, we are a revenue company. Our survival is based in revenue. We're going to survive no matter what. Let's bring good products to the marketplace. Let's push those products into the marketplace aggressively so we can drive more revenue and worry less about our expenses and more about that top line.
You wrote this book in a weekend?
I wrote that book on a Sunday in 3 hours.
Did you dictate it and then transcribe?
No,
you just
I
actually sat down and pounded it out, huh?
I pounded it out. It just came out. It's 30 years of content. It was just sitting there. You know, if you've ever seen somebody really move on something quickly, like it was just the right amount of, a right amount of situation and fear and concern, and it came out, and then 4 months later I wrote it. Over the next 4 years I've written now a total of 5 books.
Right.
And working on a 6th one.
I enjoyed 10X. Tell us about that.
The 10X rule is a book about how to add wood to your fire. The first book was about how to sell. The second book, called The Closer Survival Guide, was about how to close and negotiate. The third book, called If You're Not First, You're Last, was a book about prospecting and filling up your pipeline, having enough people to talk to. And the book that you're talking about, the 10X rule, is my latest book, and that book is about what it takes to get known. How do you push through all the noise and make yourself known, like I'm doing on this radio show today, or with Twitter, or with Facebook? When I wrote that book, the 10X rule, I didn't have a Twitter account. Today I have a Twitter account. We've banged on it. I've personally tweeted about 31,000 times in the last 26 months, and gone from no Twitter followers to about 276,000, I think is what it is today. So the 10X rule is about how do you get known, how do you get everybody to know you, how do you market yourself, brand yourself, how do you get so much attention that people actually start hating you for it.
Who hates you, Carl? No one can hate you, Grant. That's just not possible.
Yeah, you need haters. Look, if nobody hates you, you're not doing anything.
Well,
if you don't have haters, you're not in the band of success.
Well, I do. There's that other old saying that an entrepreneur hasn't gone bankrupt once or twice isn't trying hard enough. What do you think of that?
I don't like that idea. I don't have that much courage. I don't want to go BK, okay?
Uh-huh.
And the way to do that is to, you just stay liquid and drive a lot of revenue, and nobody needs to do that. So, but you do need haters, okay? There's no company that got massive success that didn't get hated. And people, this is one of the things with America today. America's trying to please everybody rather than say, hey, this is who I am. And I'm not going away. And just because I get some criticism, I need to scream louder. Because the only reason anybody would criticize you is either, number one, it just kind of grates on their nerves, or number two, maybe they're intimidated by you. Maybe it's competition. It's like, what is Grant doing? Why is Grant doing that? Why is Grant on Fox? Why is Grant on CNBC? Why is Grant on doing Jim's radio show today? Because I'm trying to get attention. And I'm clear about it. I want attention, and I want lots of attention. And the reason I want attention and lots of attention is because money follows attention. Whoever gets the most attention ends up with the most money. And I can prove that to you in Hollywood. I can prove it to you in the NFL, in the NBA. Look at LeBron. How much attention does the king get?
Well,
with that attention comes money, and with that money is going to come criticism and haters.
Did you read the article yesterday? I think it was in the Investors Daily about whether capitalism is moral or not. What are your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't even have read the article if I saw that title.
Okay.
Because look, I need money. It's not a moral issue for me. Success is my obligation to my family. I don't come to work every day because I want to. I come so I can provide for my wife and my 2 kids and my own personal dreams and purpose. People are acting like success is an option. If it's an option for you or a possibility, you're not going to get it. And even if you do get it, somebody's going to come steal it from you. They're going to come take it from you because you haven't made it your duty. People need to understand that success is vital. It's a spiritual ingredient of a human being, regardless of what your religion is. Look, successful people look more vibrant, walk different, talk different, act different, survive when things are tough differently. They give to their community more because they have more to give. They hire more people. You want to be successful. And if that means money, and it does today, look, if Jesus was here today, 2,000 years later, he would have money so that he could share his name, share his beliefs. He'd probably have a G5. I hope nobody finds that offensive. Otherwise, nobody would know him. He couldn't get around enough. You need money. Your business needs money, and your family needs money so that it can survive going forward into the future.
Well, I 100% agree. It's fun to hear someone else defend it. I'm going to write down some of those and use them myself. Grant, tell us.
Rich people. I did this interview the other day. I said, rich people aren't greedy; they're gutless. Rich people like Phil Mickelson. When he came out and said the tax thing, and then he's like, "Oh no,
yep.
I recant." Look, Phil, have some guts, buddy. He's a good guy. He's given lots of money away to communities and charities. He's helped so many people. He needs to stand up and say, "Don't take any more money from me, California."
Well, you live in Florida, so you picked the right state. That's for sure.
No, well, I just moved from Los Angeles. I was a resident of California for 22 years, and I'm one of the people that left.
Fantastic. We can now finally point to someone and said, there is people leaving, and we know his name now.
Look, I took 3 businesses. 13 employees came with me. I sold real estate there. I sold offices there. I mean, I was here 3 months in Miami, and the governor of the state of Florida called me and said, "Hey, welcome to Florida. Anything you can do to help us, anything I can do to help you, I'm here for you." I lived in California for 22 years, and nobody, not even a mayor, called me.
Wow, that's amazing that the governor of Florida calls every single new person that moves to Florida.
Well, I don't know if they call every person, but I don't care. He called me.
Grant, tell us about what the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Army have said about you recently.
Well, the U.S. Army loves me. See, the U.S. Army, most people don't know this, but the U.S. Army, the number one initiative of the U.S. Army is recruitment. See, they have their priorities right. It's like a company. One of your priorities as a company should be revenue, and the next one should be recruitment. You need people, and you need clients. And so the U.S. Army knows that its future is dependent upon its ability to recruit people. So what is it? Its number one priority is to sell people on coming to work with the U.S. Army. So they hired me basically to go in and work with their these young men and women to teach them how to recruit, to handle people's objections and stalls and reasons for not joining the Army. And we turned one of their battalions into the number one recruiting battalion in the world after only 2 days of working with their group.
My goodness.
Some nice things about me, but I don't know if that's a good recommendation.
Well, I don't know either, but at least they're saying nice things about you. So they say a lot of bad things about each other. So you're in the category that they're talking good about. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, maybe I just need to get a little more successful so the Congress starts, investigating me for something.
Yes, or maybe they'll do like Detroit and put you in charge of the whole thing.
Boy, that's scary, huh?
Well, I feel like we'd be a lot better off if we took 536 people out of the phone book and sent them up there instead. So,
yeah, don't doubt that.
When does your next book come out, Grant?
Well, I'm on a timeline for 2 books right now. I wish you wouldn't bring that up because it's very, very difficult to write under that kind of timeline,
Well, it only takes you 3 hours.
No.
You can have them both done by dinner. You have them both done by dinner.
Yeah, I know, but when people start telling you, "Hey, we'd like you to write a book about this," and then it gets a little more difficult.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll look forward to them and have you back on the show when they are ready to promote.
Hey, beautiful. I appreciate you taking an interest.
All right, Grant Cardone, thank you so much for your insight, and I can't wait to blog about your thoughts on money and capitalism, and I'm going to compare it to what's the character? Diego? Oh, gosh, the guy in Atlas Shrugged. We're going to post them word for word next to each other because they're perfect. So anyway, Grant, you are fantastic. I can't wait to read your next book. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Well, he's fascinating, isn't he?
Definitely a fascinating character.
You don't question where he stands, do you?
Not at all.
No ambiguity there.
Doesn't leave anything to the imagination.
All right. Well, let's continue on with the show. Here in the studio, we have someone else that I'm excited to get to know. Kurt Euler, how are you?
I'm doing good.
You look really familiar to me. Do I look familiar to you?
A little bit.
Have we met before?
I don't think we've met in person, but I have seen you on Twitter before.
Did we date in the 80s?
Possible, but I'm guessing not.
Okay. I don't remember the 80s, so I was just checking. Fascinating Twitter profile. I love your picture.
Thank you.
Why did you wrestle? Is that a gator or a croc?
That was an alligator.
Why?
He needed help, so I pulled him out of a pond.
Oh, so you weren't wrestling him. It was an act of animal
almost charity.
Yes.
Yeah. That one, yes. That one we pulled him out for he needs some medical treatment. Some of the other ones we pulled out more for fun.
Okay. Did he need medical treatment that ended up in him being a pair of boots?
No.
Okay.
I did get a pair of boots out of the trip, but not from him.
Okay, from a different one.
From a different one.
Okay. All right. Well, who the hell are you, Kurt? Let's start off there. People only know that you wrestle gators at this point. So who are you? Why are you here? Tell us about your company. Give us the whole spiel.
Well, I'm co-founder of a company here in Atlanta, based here in Atlanta, named Sidekick.
Yep.
But background and was part of the small team that helped build up Vitru here and recently exited to Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
Background before then at a company that actually defined the location-based advertising space and the maps.
Okay.
So if you've ever used the Garmin device, those maps are actually used now by a company we sold to Nokia for a little over $8 billion about 4 years ago now.
Just a little over $8 billion?
A little over $8 billion.
$8 billion, 27.
Something like that.
Dollars.
Yeah. You can round up to 8.1.
Okay. All right.
But really good for investors.
It was. That's a fantastic ROI. No matter what you put into it, that's got to be a good ROI. But, well, you know, one of the things that was fascinating about you that I saw when I was getting to know a little bit more about you is that it seems you've worked your way up to entrepreneur. You know, you didn't start off your career as an entrepreneur as so many people do. You know what I'm saying? You've graduated to it recently, so to speak.
I guess starting a company from the ground up, this is my first time doing that since I was 14. But I did start my first company when I was 14.
Right.
But I was blessed to have been hired by a chief strategy officer at a company called Navigation Technologies that let me stay there for 10 and a half years, basically be an intrapreneur while I was there.
Okay.
And continue to build some companies outside of there as well.
Fantastic. All right. So tell us about your intrapreneurship. We haven't actually... Kevin, that's a whole brand new word for the show, isn't it?
I know.
We've never said that word. You're the first one, Kurt.
I'm glad I could be the first.
Yes, you are my first.
I'm Googling it right now.
Yes. All right. So intrapreneurship, being entrepreneurial inside of an organization, what did they allow you to do and how much freedom did they give you? Did they actually give you some money to help or talk about that?
It actually started with just a CEO who was the former CFO of Disney as a whole, who was very open to new ideas.
Disney?
Disney.
Okay.
So his name was Judson Green.
Uh-huh.
And he came on after he left Disney as CFO to become our CEO at Navigation Technologies. And I walked in his office one day. My boss reported to him and said, "Hey, I have a crazy idea about using our products, our data, in a completely new area." Said I need, six figures, low amount of money for the company perspective at that time to go and investigate it. And he asked a few more, detailed questions and said, "Let's have another meeting about it." After a few meetings, he was very open to it.
What was that product?
We started a video game division for the company, so actually selling our data in. So Microsoft Flight Simulator actually is based on Navigation Technologies data now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as are a number of their other properties.
Okay, because that's interesting, because I've flown the commercial version, and I assume the data there would be even more realistic.
It's the same data.
Same data. That's what I was getting towards. So I was invited to the UPS facility up in Tennessee from not Memphis. Where's UPS? Knoxville? No.
It's not Chattanooga, no.
No, Kentucky.
Okay.
Louisville, Kentucky,
okay.
Where they have their overnight facility.
Yeah.
They train all their pilots there. And I got to fly a 777 simulator. And the thing had park benches in it. It was so accurate. I mean, you could look down and see benches in the park.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, the way they used to build the data for those games and for the simulators and for other games was literally a guy in a studio starting from, the scratch, as opposed to Navtech already had most of the world mapped already. And so they were able to bring in our data and take all this other data that was not as accurate and could basically make it good enough for a simulation standpoint or for a game perspective, which may not have been accurate enough for driving a car or navigation, but was more than good enough for the simulation environment. So our CEO was very open to the idea. It worked very well in the market, had a lot of patents that generate out of it and a lot of technology. And I always believe I'm never the smartest person in the room. So one of the guys...
Kevin's here. Kevin got the title. We took a test like 2 weeks ago. He won.
Somebody has to wear the shirt.
Exactly.
Yep.
So one of the guys that was on the team had another idea. So I walked back into the office and said, "Hey, I have another idea. Can we try this out?" And we ended up with several dozen of these that I ended up running, basically overlapping year over year over year as basically side projects, and they worked so successful. Naptech actually was a very great blessing for us to continue to do that inside, and is actually the model of the way a lot of companies, including like Cox now, has just started their $250 million fund here in town to basically fund internal ideas to run that startup environment within a corporate setting.
It's interesting. We've seen intrapreneurship happen at some places and do so well, and at some places it just crashes and burns. Why do you think it was so successful here in this organization? It sounds like you had a tremendous amount of freedom. Was that it? Or why do you think it worked? Does it depend on the boss?
I think it does depend on the boss. It also depends on who's running it ultimately and where they're getting support from. So we were given enough kind of rope to either make it or hang ourselves.
Yeah.
But also when we had problems, we knew that we could go in and we could say, here's where things need to grow and here's where we need help.
Okay.
But I mean, my basic goal was also to take things within kind of a 2-year period, maybe 3 years, to a point that either it was big enough to be integrated back into the company, or it wasn't growing fast enough and it needed to be shut down.
Right. Or just spun off as its own company altogether.
Yeah.
Are you a video gamer yourself?
I was in the past. I don't really have the time for it nowadays.
Well, you're married
and just got married too.
Oh, congratulations! Oh, wow! So you're only 6 months into it.
Just into it while going through a Flashpoint here in Atlanta.
Oh, wow! Well, congratulations on that. How's it going so far?
I think it's going well.
Okay, you got kids yet? 4 or 5 kids?
No kids. We are moving at the end of the month, which makes it very interesting with all the extra hours.
Yes. Well, they have their own agenda, these women folk.
Something about relationships.
They have their own agenda and children, and your moving is one thing to you. It's her way of getting a bigger nest.
I like
that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a trick. So anyway, well, I hope you want children because you're getting them.
I would be great to be blessed with them.
They are the greatest blessing on earth, except if they're mine. So I'm ready to send all 3 of mine back right now. So anyway, all right, sidekick.
Yeah.
So first, let's exit you from navigation and all that. Did you quit? How did you exit? Was it with the sale, the $8 billion sale? That was 2 ago, though, wasn't it?
I stayed there for 3 years after the exit.
Okay.
And then I started basically wanting to spend time down in Atlanta. My parents have a house in North Alabama, and wanting to, working in technology.
Right.
Wanted to move to, either Atlanta or maybe Huntsville.
And
I spent about a week a month for 14 months down here just networking.
Right.
Finally decided I was going to end up taking another another job rather than doing the commute back and forth. And met Reggie Bradford through an introduction from Bill Nussey at Silver Pop.
Right.
And heard about some of the fun things they were doing at Vitru. I knew a little bit from the outside, but when I heard what their plans were, Reggie and I grabbed breakfast and started a conversation that led me to joining the team.
Okay. And what did that company do? Was that the one that was incubated at Georgia Tech?
No. So that was Vitru. Reggie had came in. It was his 3rd company. He was the original CMO at WebMD and helped exit there. Had built up a company called N2 Broadband. And then they started Vitru basically was a social relationship management platform. It managed everything that large enterprises did on social.
Okay.
So, P&G used us for 26 of their $1 billion brands.
Right. Okay. Then what was the company that you did at Tech? Was that Sidekick?
That was Sidekick, although when we went through, we were known as Buzztastic.
Okay.
So we went through an incubator accelerator named called Flashpoint.
With Fleming, right?
Actually, it's with Merrick First.
Okay.
So Fleming does help as a mentor.
Okay, Stephen Fleming?
Yeah.
All right.
And so Merrick First had started Flashpoint is basically a different way to do startups through a startup engineering. And we went through there with that.
What's different about it?
As opposed to a lot of the startups like Techstars and Y Combinator, they like to take an approach of getting a product into like 10 customers' hands and then incubating based on that, which is great, but you might end up with a much smaller addressable market in the future. Like you get 10 people really happy, which is great as starting a business, as a lifestyle business on the side, which I'm a big fan of for people doing while they're at a day job. But if you're trying to do something full time as a startup, Merrick really takes the approach of go to talk to as many potential customers as possible to make sure you're really solving a pain. And he starts every conversation by saying, whatever you believe about the world is probably wrong. Because if it was right, you'd have so many customers beating it down on your door, you couldn't take my meeting right now.
Yeah. There's a great book out there called Everything You Believe Is Wrong, which comes in 2 volumes. Absolutely fantastic. We should get him a copy.
Okay.
I'll give him volume 1 and you can give him volume 2. But it goes through and addresses some of the things that, that you're 100% sure that you know, and says, no, actually, you have no clue.
Right.
One of my favorites was the value of a Big Mac, the nutritional value of a Big Mac. It's actually not that bad for you. Big Mac is not.
It's not that bad?
It's not really. They compared it to like a whole bunch of other stuff, and like 2 Dunkin' Donuts is worse for you than 1 Big Mac, which blew me away. And 1 bagel is worse than a Big Mac.
So the 3 Dunkin' Donuts I had over the weekend was pretty bad.
Well, it does. I had like 7 Big Macs and put them on a pizza. So,
Nice.
Anyway. All right. So, Sidekick, what does it do, and describe the model?
So Sidekick, we simplify marketing partnerships and make those much more effective for small and mid-sized businesses.
Okay, that's okay.
So basically,
make it real for me.
Yeah. So as a marketer, every marketer goes out to market, and they have 3 basic ways that they can reach new customers and their existing customers. They can go out and try to grow their current audience, all the people on their email list, on Facebook, on Twitter, that they already have a connection with. If they're really good, maybe they grow that organically by like 10% this quarter.
Okay.
And that's their bread and butter. That's how you drive sales.
Sure.
Or you can use paid media. But paid media, I always look at it as it's kind of like a black hole. It's really powerful and can slingshot you around to your goals, but you can also just dump money into it. But the best marketers are always working with other brands, other organizations that their current customers already have a relationship with, or their prospective customers already have a relationship with, to try to reach them. So an example is one of my customers is named Control Freak. They're based here in Atlanta. They make video game controller accessories for Xbox and PlayStation. They often work with companies like Turtle Beach, who sells $200 headphones to the exact same person that Control Freak is trying to reach. They can also work with many gaming communities that are out there. That I Play COD. It's a gaming community of 500,000 people on Facebook that are just these crazy fanatics that play Call of Duty day in and day out. And again, those are people that
we're looking to hire all those people, by the way. those that you don't hire, Kurt will hire. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's why I end up liking the business is I hear about all these relationships that I wouldn't even think of necessarily, where I go in and talk to marketers. As part of Flashpoint, we spoke to more than 300 marketers in the marketplace. Everyone from the SVP of digital at Citibank to, a marketer for like a 5-person coffee shop.
Right.
And they all gave me the same response. I don't have enough paid media budget to reach the eyes that I want to reach. And so I started asking them about the most effective marketing partnerships that they have. And it's the way that companies like WebMD were built here in town, where they had, content already, and they'd go to somebody else like WebMD's standpoint. They went to Yahoo. They said, we have this content. How can we reach your audience? You guys get something out of it. We get something out of it. How can we partner together?
It's interesting. I didn't know that's what Sidekick did. And I've built my entire career that way. My first business I started when I was 25, not 14 like you. But it was a summer camp business. And we were actually located at Stanford and MIT and Georgetown and UCLA. And we were sponsored by Intel and Microsoft and Hewlett-Packard and NASA and Intuit and everybody. And when we answered the phone, I haven't told you the brand name yet, because we never used our brand name, because we were computer camp at Stanford and MIT sponsored by Intel and Microsoft. How can I help you? I don't need a brand name after that,
right.
And then everything else I've done was the same sort of way. All of my businesses have been wrapped around someone else's brand name. So it's fascinating that you're doing that. How much does it cost? So for those you didn't listen to the show last week, I know, because I asked your wife. We're following 2 continuing sagas here at School for Startups Radio.
Okay.
My wife just started a business on December 26th. It's the last resort business. This is the business that anyone in the world can start with $9 in 26 minutes. And so it's interesting to see how she's doing. And so every week we follow it. We haven't mentioned it today, but she said last night that she's up to $750 a month profit now.
That's awesome.
Unbelievable. In what, under 90 days.
90 days.
She's like at 195 days now. She's making right at $750 a month profit. And she spent zero money to start this business.
Okay.
So that's one of the sagas we're following. Saga 2 is last week I raised $250,000 to start a new real estate website, and we can't say anything more than that yet. I want to hire you to promote my real estate website. Go.
You want to hire me?
Or your company sidekick.
Well, we provide a platform for marketers such as
hire
you guys
me?
do.
He was like shocked.
Me? I'm
me?
excited.
Me?
I feel like I won a game show.
Well, this is called the Booby Prize.
Nice.
All right. So anyway, real estate website, you're hired. Go.
Yeah, so we provide a platform that you guys could use to connect with the partners that already have a relationship with the audience you're trying to reach. So
one more fact. This is a partner killer. It's designed, every partner you can name. It's designed, like right here, I happened to have the this week's Atlanta Business Chronicle, and they have a pullout for the $1 million real estate agents, and they have a bunch of door knocks here. My goal is to put every company in this thing out of business.
Every company in
this pullout. So every real estate company, Harry Norman.
Are you competitive with everyone?
Yeah.
Everyone?
It kills everybody, including the boards and everybody, the NARs, the national associations, everybody.
Are you hiring a bunch of hitmen with this $250,000?
Yeah, that's right. We're just going to go and kill every agent in America until I'm the only one left. You have to buy from me. Yeah. It's a great model.
Well, I mean, that's one of the nice things where we found from talking to all these marketers was I thought I was going to have to connect businesses such as this real estate website with partners. And what I found was most of the marketers we talk with, they already know the partners and can identify the buckets of people they would work with. Their biggest problem is actually not even they didn't need me to do eHarmony and match them with partners. They can identify the lawyers, or in this case, or whoever those buckets might be that you could partner with. And then Sidekick handles the execution for that. So we handle the landing pages, the promotions, the suggested content, the collaboration that you would have with the potential partners that you would identify. But then we want to make you successful not just in the first campaign, but continually. So we also show you which partners you're helping the most and which partners are helping you the most on this campaign. So your next campaign and the following ones can be more and more productive.
All right. Did Doug get some VC funding to start Sidekick, or was it angel? Or
we just took a small risk fund from Flashpoint, but we have not raised funding yet.
Okay. How much did you take?
It was a small amount. It was a small amount of risk funds. It wasn't even considered an angel round.
Okay.
So.
Wow, under an angel round.
Yeah. I'm
not sure what the hell that is. Yeah. And how is it going so far? Do you have revenue?
We do have revenue. We have more. We have, several dozen customers. The Atlanta Film Festival is actually just launched this weekend.
Okay,
they're one of our customers.
Congratulations, fantastic customer.
Thank you. Yeah, they say they've been great to work with. Chris Escobar, their executive director. He was great when we started talking to him about all the potential partners that they already work with, and he just started flowing with ideas for the buckets that they can work with, and it's been great to see them log into the system, set things up, and launch, and hopefully I'll end up seeing a showing or two in the next day.
Yeah, that would be impressive. Yeah. All right, so you are revenue, you're cash flow positive.
We're not cash flow positive yet.
Okay,
but we're growing, and we're enjoying the pace we're on, and making sure that current customers are very happy.
And how many employees do you have?
We've got 3 people on full time, and then a variety of contractors we work with as well.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, that sounds fascinating. I love what you're doing because my entire career, as I've said, has been based on that, and I've for years told people that the best way to start a $5,000 business is to associate yourself with someone else. My wife is associated with Amazon. My wife is selling on Amazon. Okay. So, that's why I say it's the business of last default. Anyone can do this business. Yeah. And I don't say that to say negative things about my beautiful wife. I'm just saying anyone can do this business. And she has associated herself with Amazon. People buy her stuff. They think they're buying from Amazon. In fact, they're buying it from a little girl in a condo in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, it's always great to associate yourself with someone else. And from what I gathered from the website and reading a little bit of your blogs was you encourage people to start businesses on the side to kind of diversify their income.
Yes.
If you're consulting or no matter what you're doing, I mean, to be able to go out and work with somebody else that's local that already has a relationship with who you're trying to reach, whether it's, you're starting a lawn care business or you're doing consulting on the side because you're a sales professional that can help, rather than going out and forming your own sales team, finding somebody else that's not competitive, that already has a relationship where it's a value add for both of you, and the introductions go both ways. I mean, it's essentially the pay-it-forward approach that most marketers have done for years.
Right.
We're just making it so that not only can the big enterprises do it, but everybody can do it. And if you're a big enterprise using us, it's much more efficient. And if you're a small and mid-sized company, an e-com company, we get a lot of pull from, they're able to to grow their business in ways that we've never seen in any of the other industries that we've helped to establish. I mean, we've essentially established the location-based advertising industry before, the spatial industry, and more recently the social media management industries. And then now I get to see e-com companies come on, and they get, on average, a 3x to 4x additional amount of leads by working with partners than if they work by themselves. So they drive 10,000 leads if they work by themselves. By bringing in the partners on the average campaign, they bring in 30,000 to 40,000 additional leads.
Right.
That's a win-win for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the affiliate marketing things that are going on now are absolutely huge. I know there's the affiliate conference coming up, I think in a month or something.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I think Internet Retailers, the Internet Retailer Conference just ended as well.
Okay.
A lot of that was around partnerships as well.
Right. All right. So it's a platform. Can I sign on and just start using it, or do I actually have to engage salespeople? Or
you do actually have to engage salespeople.
Okay.
I mean, we have a model where we want to make sure, especially at the stage we're at, that it's good to be in a place where we can pick our customers. But we want to make sure that we're able to talk with the customers, that we can actually help.
Okay.
Even at Vitra, we took the approach really of saying, our product at Vitra and our product at Sidekick may not be the best for everyone, and if it's not, I'd really rather not take your money, so that if I'll tell you up front if I think it may not be the best for your company now, because I'd rather get that recommendation going forward, and I'd much rather have a positive relationship now.
Okay. We're probably going to have you back and talk more, Kurt, because I'm still fascinated by this topic, and I'd like to spend a whole show just on the local. We just totally blew past that, but local fascinates me, and we should do that. We're going to have a theme show here soon, Kevin, on local. And bring you back, Kurt, but also bring in like a local Google SEO type guy and just talk about the whole industry, because people are making billions of dollars on local search now, local everything. Yeah.
Well, and bringing in somebody even like Chris Tuff from 22 Squared here in town, the agency, he's been talking about recently that the next wave of marketing that he sees that will be the biggest for brands, both from small to large enterprises, will be local. Another great resource that we have within Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay, well, fascinating. We'll set up a show for that. That sounds great. What have we not asked you that you're just dying to say?
I don't know. What would you like to know?
I don't know. This is your opportunity.
This is my opportunity?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think about is, welcome anybody to come down and visit Atlanta Tech Village. So we've moved our office recently from Tech Square to Atlanta Tech Village, David Cummings' new building on the corner of Piedmont and Lenox. It's great to see somebody step up after a major exit and instantly reinvest back in the community.
That is very rare. Yes. When I sold my business in 2001, I invested in crack and whores.
Nice.
That's what my wife said.
A little bit of scotch.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, you have to diversify.
That's right. You can't just keep to one thing, and you have to expand and spread your wings and try new things in life. When was the first time someone called you an entrepreneur? And how did it make you feel?
Probably when I was 11 or 12.
Really?
Yeah.
But you hadn't started until you were 14.
I didn't consider it a business, but I did have friends working for me some on the side. I didn't consider my first business was not until I was 14, though.
What was that?
Beforehand, I was paying friends to use my dad's power washer to clean driveways for me.
Oh, okay. That's a good job.
It worked well.
Yeah.
It paid for the Jolly Ranchers when I was 11 and 12.
Excellent. Where'd you grow up?
In the southwest suburb of Chicago until I was 11, and then moved down to North Alabama until college.
Okay. North Alabama. All right. Well, Kurt, you are fascinating. I love what you are doing with Sidekick, and love all the steps you've taken along the way. Congratulations to you and your beautiful new wife on your 58 years of absolute bliss together. And good luck on your move.
Thank you.
And when Sidekick is ready, are you going to do Angel? Or are you going straight to VC? What are you going to do?
Right now, we're really focused on making our customers happy. So,
okay.
I mean, that's
he's not running for president either. All right. Anyway, Kurt Euler, you've been a lot of fun of Sidekick.com.
Yeah, Sidekick with QIK.
QIK, right? They spelled it the correct way, the French spelling. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
We had a fantastic show. It was over the top, wasn't it?
It did. I didn't have to participate that much, so it made it better.
That's right. Next week, we have the founder of Carbonite and Willie Jolly, the #1 speaker from Toastmasters International of all time.
I'm excited for both of them.
It's an unbelievable show.
We use Carbonite here at Business Radio X.
Do we really?
We do.
Well, we'll make sure that we tell David Friend that next week.
All right.
All right. Well, Kurt, I appreciate you coming in today. I hope it wasn't too far of a drive for you.
No, thank you for inviting me.
Hope you get to head home now, early afternoon.
I'm going back down to Atlanta Tech Village. We have interns coming in to interview.
Excellent, excellent. All right, Kevin, I appreciate you being here today, and I will look forward to seeing all of you next week. To all of our listeners, thank you very much. Make sure you go out and buy Grant's book. The 10X is the one that I would buy right now. Buy my book, School for Startups, and go sign up on Sidekick and follow Kurt Euler and Grant Cardone on Twitter. All right. All right. This is Jim Beach for School for Startups Radio here on Business Radio X. See you next week. Thanks a lot.